You already know who they are. You have known for a while. The friend who is always there when things are good. The one who knows everything about you and shares nothing real about themselves. The one whose support feels slightly off. Whose congratulations arrive a little too late. Whose concern appears most reliably at your moments of momentum. You have felt it. You just did not know what to do with the feeling. Machiavelli did. He spent his entire life surrounded by people exactly like this, and he developed a precise set of laws for not just identifying them, but dealing with them without drama, without confrontation, without losing yourself in the process. Today, you get all of them. Most people deal with fake friends the wrong way. They either ignore every signal until the damage is done, or they confront too early, too emotionally, and hand the fake friend exactly what they need to reframe themselves as the victim. Machiavelli would say both approaches are errors. He wrote that the wise man does not react to what he sees. He responds to it deliberately, strategically, from a position of clear understanding rather than emotional reaction. This video is not about revenge. It is not about dramatic exits or public exposés. It is about something far more powerful. It is about dealing with fake friends in a way that protects everything you have built, preserves your dignity completely, and leaves the fake friend with absolutely nothing to use against you. 5 laws, each one a specific approach to a specific kind of fake friendship, each one requiring real discipline and real self-knowledge to apply. Law number 1, stop feeding them information. The first and most foundational law, before you do anything else, before you distance yourself, before you confront or restructure the relationship, you stop the supply. Machiavelli wrote that the wise prince understands that information is the currency of power. What people know about you determines what they can do to you, and the fake friend's primary resource is everything you have told them. Your fears, your ambitions, your relationship tensions, your financial situation, your plans that are not yet complete, your vulnerabilities that you shared in moments of genuine connection. All of it is in their possession, and all of it in the wrong hands becomes ammunition, not necessarily used in one dramatic act of betrayal, more often used in small, deniable ways. The casual mention of your fear in a group setting, the question designed to reveal your insecurity, precisely when you are trying to appear confident, the story about your past shared with someone who did not need to know it. Each one alone seems minor. Together they form a pattern of quiet erosion. The first law is to close the tap. Stop sharing new information. Not dramatically, not with an announcement. Simply begin giving less. When they ask how things are, give them the surface version. When they probe for more, become pleasantly vague. When they notice the shift and ask if everything is okay, tell them honestly that you have been keeping more to yourself lately. No accusation, no explanation of why. Just the simple, quiet fact of it. This does the 2 most important things simultaneously. It removes their primary resource, and it tells your own nervous system that you are no longer available to be mined, which is the beginning of the recalibration that makes every other law possible. The practice. Identify the 3 most sensitive categories of information you have been sharing with this person. Your plans, your fears, your relationship vulnerabilities. Beginning today, those categories become private, not hidden in shame, simply private by choice. Watch how the dynamic shifts when the flow of genuinely useful information stops. Machiavelli observed this pattern in every court he studied. The advisor who accumulated the most damaging information was never the loudest one, it was the warmest one. The one people felt comfortable talking to. The one who created an atmosphere of safety that made others lower their guard completely. Your fake friend has done the same thing. They are warm because warmth is the most effective tool for extracting information from people who would otherwise protect it. Understanding this does not make you paranoid. It makes you appropriately careful about who earns access to what. Law number 2, observe without reacting. The second law is where most people fail, because they know something is wrong, and knowing something is wrong creates pressure. Pressure to confront, pressure to test, pressure to say something, do something, address something, before the uncertainty becomes unbearable. And the fake friend, who is often quite skilled at reading people, can sense that pressure. They use it. They lean into the uncertainty. They become warmer precisely when you are on the verge of addressing it. They create a moment of genuine seeming connection at exactly the point when you are about to pull away, and you pull back from pulling away, and the cycle continues. Machiavelli wrote about the strategic value of patient observation. He noted that the prince who acts on incomplete information makes decisions that cost him more than waiting would have. But the prince who observes without reacting accumulates something the hasty prince never has: certainty, absolute certainty about what he is dealing with. Because patterns given enough time and observation become undeniable. The fake friend cannot sustain a performance indefinitely. If you stop reacting to their provocations, if you stop giving them emotional feedback that tells them whether their tactics are working, if you simply watch with genuine detachment across a variety of situations and circumstances, the real pattern surfaces every time. And a pattern, once seen clearly and without the distortion of emotional reaction, is something you can make a decision about from a position of genuine knowledge, not suspicion, not feeling, certainty. This requires something that is genuinely difficult. It requires you to be in the relationship as it is, without showing all of what you now see. To continue engaging with a degree of warmth while internally observing and recording. This is not dishonesty. It is the application of intelligence to a situation where intelligence is the only tool that will actually work. The practice. For the next 30 days, adopt one rule in this relationship. You will observe everything. You will react to nothing that is not genuinely worth reacting to. You will keep an internal record of specific behaviors, not feelings, specific behaviors, and let the record build until what you are dealing with is no longer a question but a fact. Machiavelli spent years in courts where acting on incomplete information was the most common reason brilliant men made catastrophic decisions. He trained himself to hold what he knew loosely until more evidence arrived, to treat his current understanding as a hypothesis rather than a conclusion, and to let time, the most reliable revealer of character there is, do the work that confrontation could never do as cleanly. Patience in observation is not passivity. It is the most active form of intelligence available. Law number 3, reduce access without explanation. The third law is the one that most directly changes the dynamic. And it is the one that the fake friend will find most disorienting, because it removes what they need most: your presence, your attention, your continued investment in the relationship, without ever giving them something to push against. Machiavelli wrote that the most effective exits from a damaging alliance are never the dramatic ones. The dramatic exit gives the other party a narrative. It makes them the wronged one. It hands them the victim position in every retelling. And the fake friend, skilled at managing perception, will use that narrative immediately and effectively. The quiet exit is different. It is simply the gradual withdrawal of availability. You become slightly less responsive. Not cold, not rude, not distant in a way that announces itself. Simply a little slower to reply, a little less available for the spontaneous connection, a little more often genuinely occupied with other things. Your investment in other relationships increases. Your investment in this one decreases, not as punishment, not as a statement, simply as the natural reallocation of a finite resource, your time and energy, toward things that actually deserve it. The fake friend will notice. They always do. They may reach out more intensely for a period. They may manufacture a crisis that requires your presence. They may become suddenly warmer and more attentive. All of these are the relationship's immune response to the withdrawal. Do not mistake the immune response for genuine change. Machiavelli would note that a person who only becomes the friend you needed when they sense you leaving was never the friend you needed. They were performing what was required to maintain access, and performance in response to withdrawal is still performance. Continue the gradual reduction. Let your calendar fill with people and pursuits that deserve to be there, and let the space where this relationship used to be filled with something genuinely better. The practice. Identify 3 ways you are currently over-investing in this relationship: time, emotional energy, practical support. For each one, identify a person or pursuit that deserves that investment more. Begin the reallocation, quietly, without announcement, without drama. Simply let your life fill with what is real. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who exits a damaging alliance dramatically gives his former ally something to respond to. But the prince who simply becomes less available, less present, less essential to the daily dynamic gives them nothing to attack. There is no incident to point to, no argument to win, no moment where the fake friend can present themselves as wronged. Just the quiet, undeniable reality that the relationship is no longer what it was. And that reality, delivered without drama, is the most complete form of exit available. Law number 4, use them as they used you. This law is the one Machiavelli would deliver most directly, and it is the most counterintuitive of the 5. He wrote that the wise man does not discard a resource simply because it is not what he thought it was. He recategorizes it. A fake friend is not a real friend, but they are often a useful acquaintance, someone who knows the right people, someone who moves in useful circles, someone who can open doors or provide opportunities or serve as a conduit to things that are genuinely valuable. The error most people make is to expect the relationship to be one thing, deep, loyal, genuine, and when it turns out to be something else, shallow, strategic, conditional, they feel betrayed. But betrayal requires that a promise was broken. The fake friend never promised you depth. You assumed it. Machiavelli would say, stop assuming. See the relationship for what it actually is. A surface-level strategic connection that can serve specific purposes without requiring the depth you are trying to build into it. This recategorization does something important. It removes the disappointment. You cannot be disappointed by a surface relationship if you have stopped expecting depth from it. You can engage with it for what it offers: access, information, social connection, professional utility, without the emotional investment that made the shallowness hurt. This is not cynicism. This is the application of accurate assessment to a relationship that refused to be what you hoped it would be. And accurate assessment, without bitterness or performance, is one of the most sophisticated things a person can bring to any social situation. The practice: make a list of what this relationship actually does offer, not what you wish it offered, what it actually provides. Then ask whether those things are useful enough to maintain the surface of the relationship without the emotional investment you were previously making. If yes, recategorize and engage accordingly. If no, proceed to Law 5. Machiavelli himself maintained relationships with people he did not fully trust, not out of weakness, out of strategic clarity about what each relationship was and was not. He gave each person access proportional to what they had demonstrated they deserved, no more, no less. And in doing so, he extracted value from relationships that would have been simply painful if he had continued expecting them to be something they were not. This is not a lowering of standards. It is the intelligent application of accurate expectations to the relationships that actually exist in your life. Law number 5, exit completely when the cost exceeds the value. The 5th and final law, the one that Machiavelli would say requires the most courage, not physical courage, the courage to accept what is true and act on it clearly. There comes a point in every relationship that has been honestly assessed where the calculation becomes simple. What does this relationship cost me, and what does it provide? When the cost in energy, attention, emotional labor, the management of what you share, the vigilance required to maintain appropriate distance, exceeds the value in genuine connection, practical utility, growth, or joy, the relationship no longer serves your life. And a relationship that no longer serves your life is a relationship you are maintaining for reasons that have nothing to do with its actual value. Fear of conflict, fear of being disliked, fear of the narrative the other person will create when you leave. Machiavelli was direct on this point. Fear of a narrative should never be the reason you remain in something damaging, because the narrative will be created regardless. The fake friend who loses their access does not respond with acceptance. They respond with the story that serves them best, and that story will be unflattering. Your only options are to remain in the relationship and accept the slow cost, or to leave it and accept the story. Machiavelli would choose the story every time, because the story is an external thing, something people may believe or not believe based on what they know of you. But the cost of staying in a relationship that drains you is internal. It affects how you see yourself, what you are willing to accept, what becomes normal to you. And what becomes normal to you shapes every other relationship you will ever have. Exit when the cost exceeds the value. Not with drama, not with a speech. With the quiet, dignified, complete withdrawal of someone who has made a clear-eyed decision and does not require anyone's permission to honor it. The practice: do the honest calculation. Write down what this relationship costs in one column and what it provides in the other. If the cost column is heavier, you have your answer. The only remaining question is whether you have the courage to act on it. Machiavelli wrote that the greatest cost of staying in a damaging relationship is not what the other person takes from you. It is what you give them permission to define. Every day you remain in a relationship that is costing you more than it provides, you are telling yourself that this is acceptable, that you are someone who accepts this. And that story, told to yourself quietly through your choices, shapes how you see yourself in every other context. The exit is not just about them, it is about the version of yourself you are choosing to protect.